Welcome to yet another episode of the program from the National Assembly House of Representatives. I am Itaire Ikben, and it's really good to have you join us at this time. It is established that conflicts between farmers and pastoralists take a toll on food security as well as national security. This is why relevant authorities cannot afford to turn a blind eye or look the other way, but take holistic and proactive measures towards mitigating and resolving clashes between farmers and herders, especially by addressing the root causes. The House of Representatives is weighing in on the matter through an ad hoc committee that has been inaugurated and has had its first public hearing with relevant stakeholders who were unanimous that the challenges faced by farmers and herders require concerted efforts to protect the lives and livelihoods of those who feed our nation. On the program today, we now bring you details of the committee's hearing.
Thank you.
The Right Honorable Speaker, my honorable colleagues, representative of the National Security Advisor, service chiefs, head of ministries, departments and agencies, esteemed stakeholders present, members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Distinguished stakeholders, I stand before you today on behalf of members of this ad hoc committee to address matters of utmost importance, the issue that resonates deeply with the well-being of our communities and the future of our nation. We are here today not just as representatives of various stakeholders, but concerned individuals unified by a shared commitment. The issue faced by farmers and herders have reached a critical juncture, demanding our immediate attention and collaborative efforts to finding sustainable solution. As chairman of this ad hoc committee, I recognize the urgency and the significance of our task. Our mandate is not just merely to study the long-standing tension between farmers and herders, which has escalated, leading to conflicts over land and resources competition for grazing areas and water resources, which has resulted in violence and loss of lives and property on both sides. These conflicts not only disrupt rural communities, but also have broader socio-economic and political implications in the nation. Our primary objective is to bridge the divide and foster improved understanding among members and herders, taking into cognizance the unique challenges faced by the groups by promoting dialogue, building trust, and creating an environment where mutual respect and shared prosperity can strive. To address the root cause of these problems, we need a multifaceted approach that integrates efforts of the government, private sector, civil society organization. We must also explore investment in agricultural infrastructure, such as adequate investment in irrigation system, storage facilities, rural road network, etc. Conflict resolution and land management, continued investment in agricultural research and development, enhancing skill and knowledge of farmers and herders, in bracket, education and capacity building. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, addressing the challenges faced by the farmers and herders required concrete effort from all stakeholders. By working together, we can create an environment to foster sustainable agriculture, resolve conflicts, uplift the lives of those who feed our nation. Let us commit ourselves to these goals for the betterment of our rural communities, our economy, and our collective future, where farmers, herders coexist peacefully, our socio-economic development is fostered, and our great nation flourishes. Thank you very much for being here. I look forward for a fruitful discussion. God bless us all. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
On this note, invite the speaker.
The chairman, ad hoc committee, to interface with various federal government agencies, relevant stakeholders, with a view to finding lasting solution to reoccurring clashes between farmers and herders in Yamautu, Deba, and neighboring local government area, including other regions of the country with similar incidents. My respected colleagues and members of this committee, Your Majesty Sariki Fulani, the representative of various security agencies here present, the representative of the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution, the representative of MDAs, distinguished stakeholders, my invited guests. Though I'm missing Nigerian Defense College representative, Chairman, ensure you invite them as one of the stakeholders in this engagement. Gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, there's an opening remark presented by the Deputy Speaker, but remains the speech of my boss, the Speaker of the 10th Assembly, Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, PhD. At the inauguration and opening of the interactive section of the ad hoc committee to interface with relevant stakeholders on the reoccurring clashes between farmers and herders in Yamautu, Deba, and neighboring local government areas, including other regions of the country, held in the House of Representatives on Monday, the 28th day of August 2023. I welcome you all to the inauguration of this important ad hoc committee and the commencement of interactive section on the age-long conflict between farmers and herders in Nigeria. It's about time we'll find a solution towards resolving it, because both the farmers are important to us as well as the herders are also important to us. The task before this committee is very critical and of utmost national importance, as it directly affects both national and food security. It is a matter that has lingered for decades now. Given its implication to the collective good of the nation, the House resolved to take a critical look into the causes, into the nature, into the dimensions, and the actors, including the impact and possible solution to this nagging national challenge. Hence, the constitution of this ad hoc committee. These conflicts have escalated in recent years, and it is quite consequential to our national security. What is even more concerning is the appropriation of these conflicts by terror groups, bandits, and even international criminal organizations. This has had severe consequences, including the restriction of farmers from access to their farmlands, leading to food price inflation, a high cost of living, unemployment, and loss of foreign earnings that would have accrued through the agricultural sector. It is therefore a germane concern that an otherwise multi-billion-dollar livestock industry is mired in crisis and security challenges. It ought not to be so. It should rather be an avenue for gainful employment, industrial and manufacturing renaissance when the entire value chain is explored. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, what is clear from the foregoing is that we are not only dealing with a national security problem, but also a food security challenge. Indeed, the two reinforce themselves. No doubt, these conflicts are in part triggered by the global environmental challenge of climate change. It arises from the droughts and extreme weather conditions brought about by climate change, especially in the northern part of our dear country, Nigeria. As a result, farmers are forced to move their livestock to other parts of the country that are less affected by grazing, leading to the destruction of farmlands and crops. In retaliation, farmers often resort to slaughtering the herders' livestock. This action exacerbates the food crisis as both crops and livestock are destroyed in the process. In the past, these clashes were viewed as mere communal clashes arising from disputes over farmland, grazing spaces, and water, which were largely confined to northern Nigeria. However, the clashes have long escalated and spread to other parts of the country, taking on political and ethno-religious dimensions. It ought not to be so. In addition, there are claims of violent herders infiltrating our borders from neighboring countries and perpetuating killings, cattle rustling, and destruction of properties. The clashes have resulted in avoidable losses of lives and property. It is estimated that over 60,000 people have been killed since 2001. Let me repeat that. It is estimated that over 60,000, not 6,000, not 600, not 60 people, 60,000 people have been killed since 2001. It ought not to be so. The number of deaths, injuries, and kidnapped persons constitutes an alarming situation and poses a serious national challenge for our dear country, especially in our quest to attend to food security and alternative foreign earnings from the agricultural sector. This menace requires urgent action to be taken. I want to thank the proposer of this particular motion, the former Speaker of Gombe State, my friend Inoa, who brought this up for us to look at again. It truly shows that you are a concerned parliamentarian who feels the pulse of the nation, and you did not limit this motion only to northern Nigeria. You made it to include other regions of the country. And that is what makes us federal parliamentarians, that the laws we make and the resolutions we reach and the motion we propose should not be limited only to the confines of the parameters of our region, ethnicity, tribe, religion, and all that sentiment. It should be federal indeed, because we are federal legislators. Once again, I commend you. I also wish to thank this committee for its prompt response to the request of the House to investigate the herder-farmer clashes. Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you for not enjoying your holidays even though we are on recess, and you try to pull some of your members out. It is an issue of national importance, and it demands urgency. And the sacrifice made to broker peace in our nation is not a wasted effort. For it is in peace and unity that our progress as a nation will thrive. Your core mandate as a committee, therefore, is to uncover the facts, identify the remote and immediate causes of herder-farmer clashes in Yamautu, Deba, and other regions of this country, You should interrogate the degree of loss of lives and property and recommend policy and legislative solutions, including but not limited to what we are not able to have ranches, why we are not able to have ranches as in other jurisdictions. In addition, as you carry out this all-important national assignment, I enjoin you to be guided by the values of integrity, values of fairness, values of social justice. You must do justice to all. Fair hearing must be given to all. Nobody should be given preference over the other, because on both sides, they are very important to our nation building and national economic growth. You must also engage relevant stakeholders in open dialogue. I had mentioned earlier that I did not see the National Defense College represented here. They are a college that is involved in conducting researches that involves our security or insecurity and how we can cure the insecurity. Kindly invite them as one of the major stakeholders, include them in your stakeholders mapping, on your stakeholders administration list, because I'm sure they have a lot to offer in providing solution towards resolving this hydra-headed problem that the nation has been faced with for some time now. Include representatives from the security sector and socio-cultural groups, as well as experts in mediation. I'm happy to see some of them here. Dialogue, conflict management, conflict resolution, and peace building. I call on all stakeholders to extend their full cooperation to the committee. Let us set aside our differences, prejudices, and biases as we work together for our collective good. By doing so, we will not only resolve this crisis, but we will also promote social cohesion. We will also promote social loyalty, national loyalty, economic development, and unity among our diverse communities. By the powers conferred on me as the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, and on behalf of the Speaker of the 10th Assembly, I hereby inaugurate this ad hoc committee and declare open the interactive section with relevant stakeholders. I urge you to carry out this national assignment with every sense of responsibility, commitment, and dedication that it deserves. Do not leave any stone unturned in your investigation and dialogue. I am confident that your report will provide valuable insight and actionable recommendation to guide the House of Representatives in enacting necessary legislations that will help our country. I wish you success in this assignment. Thank you, and may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Right Honorable Deputy Speaker, sir, on behalf of myself and my people, and the entire people of Nigeria, we thank you very much for taking this bold step in forming this committee and supporting the committee to do what is right. In my present, sir, what prompted me to move this motion? In my present, I saw a situation where an entire family, they visited their loved ones. Women were raped. People were killed. Farmers were injured. Cattle were killed. A lot has been destroyed. That is why I think one of the primary assignments of governance is to provide security for the lives and properties of this country. That's why I believe this motion will go a long way in paving way for building harmonious relationship between two brothers that I believe they are twins. It's like Hassan and Hussein. Farmers cannot do without herders. Equally, herders cannot do without farmers. They have been there since the history of mankind. What happens that at this time we are trying to become enemies, and our enemies are taking undue advantage and keying into it, killing our people, destroying our properties, putting ourselves in a very dangerous pedestal. That is not be so, it's not supposed to be so. Right, Honorable Speaker, I believe by your presentation, Right Honorable Deputy Speaker, I know you are very, very well equipped and well informed on this issue. Because anything we are going to discuss here, we are only expanding on what you have already delivered in your speech. Let me appreciate your effort and make a request, Your Excellency. At the end, when we come up with the resolution of this committee, and I'm assuring you we are going to do justice, like you said, no stone will remain unturned under this condition and in this exercise. When we finish, Right Honorable Sir, I want to make a request that under your leadership as leaders of the House of Representatives, I want to urge you to please have a dialogue with Mr. President. This is a serious national issue, as you said. Before, it wasn't like this. It is developing to an international issue which cross the length and breadth of this country. It is creating an opportunity for those that are enemies of Nigeria to key into these loopholes. Let the federal government take it as a paramount responsibility with the aim of coming to an end, or bringing this to an end, so that our general populace will go to their farms happily, our farmers, our herders will graze their cattle happily, so that the socio-economic development, as you reiterated in your speech, Your Excellency, will boost the economy of this country and will earn our foreign exchange. Daily, Your Excellency, we slaughter millions of these animals as a source of our protein in this country. Daily, we consume worth of billions of food stuff by the farmers. So these two key people are dependent of economy of Nigeria, not oil, sir. Because the GDP of Nigeria is not focusing on oil, but our domestic consumption is what matters. Mr. Chairman of the committee, and my fellow colleagues, thank you very much for deeming it fit and very, very necessary to not only partake, but to take this assignment as important as it were. The stakeholders, thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for being very ready to contribute your quota with the aim of having a very viable, understandable, and accepted input so that the committee can present to the House for an immediate action. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. May God bless you. Thank you.
Your Excellency, we thank you.
The meeting is called to order, sir. Okay. As we commence, we have the Secretary Fulani of IRA, who is here. I will want to call those present here, representative of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, Nigerian Civil Defense Corps, Institute of Peace and Conflict Resolution, Miet Allah Kautal Hore, Kulen Allah Katul, Riaras Association, representative of the Office of the NSA, Rice Farmers Association, Food and Agriculture Program Management Action Aid Nigeria, representative of the Ministry of Justice. Okay, Bandra Fulbe Youth Association. Which organization is it? Eh? Livestock Square. Square. Okay. Square Africa. Okay. For fairness, we will allocate a minimum of 5 minutes. 5 minutes each, because we have the representations here, isn't it? As we have your representation, it's just to hear the summary, just to have the summary of what you presented to us. Then we continue at that. And this is just the interface. This is the beginning of our meeting. There's going to be subsequent until we reach the bottom of these problems. I want to appreciate all of you who are here. And if we should tell you the magnitude of this problem, we thought this hall will not contain the cream and creamies of people that are supposed to have been here. But to my greatest dismay, the service chiefs, none of them is here. The service chiefs, none of them is here. And we officially wrote to them. And if you look at the problem of hardest farmers crisis, it's taken more than 70% of the Nigerian insecurity happening today. I sincerely want to appreciate the Office of the National Security Advisor for having the representatives of his office here. This shows his commitment. This shows his concern. This shows his willingness to bring to bear the insecurity of this country. And we are going to report this to him, to tell him, unfortunately, the service chiefs are not here. The representative of the police are not here. It is not about me or you, it is about all of us. We can only have peace when this crisis is at least bring to the minimum or barest level. So I will urge at any point in time, the National Assembly called for this kind of an engagement. People should honor this engagement so that we find a solution to this problem. Thank you very much for being here, and we will want to start immediately. And I will want to start with the Office of the National Security Advisor.
Invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Professor Abdullahi Muhammad Yau, SA to the National Security Advisor. I represent the National Security Advisor in this all-important interaction section. The National Security Advisor wanted to be here in person, but due to some other national and urgent matters, he urged me to represent him in this meeting. The issue of the farmers' herders, clashes or conflicts has taken more lives than most of the crises we have in recent history. The problem is ongoing. A lot have been done to solve this problem, and we still have the problem ongoing. We cannot say there's nothing has been done, but the problem is still eating deep into our fabric of our collective interests, our national economy, our food security, and social security. It is high time we uncover this monster before it consumes all of us. The issue to some of us, if we can look in the recent histories, if we go back to history, we can agree we had these clashes. In 30 years ago, for instance, we had these clashes, but they didn't take this dimension we are having today. Why? Because over the years, there were all factors, mechanisms and people approach this kind of situations with all sincerity. Today, if there is a particular conflict or crisis, you hear all kinds of names. People don't look at the causes of the problem. People don't turn to find solution to the problem. They always look at who is involved. If my brother is involved, if he is related to me, if he is from my tribe, if he is from my religion, I try to cover him. If we don't turn out to be sincere to ourselves and truthful in handling this problem, it will continue to persist. And I'm happy that this is coming from the National Assembly, because we can enact laws that can allow for coexistence between herders and farmers. In those days, herders always go into farms, either intentionally or by mistakes, but there are always mechanisms for resolving such conflict without shedding a single drop of blood. But what happened today? We have what we call the violence group from both sides. Ordinarily, people from other side will say the herders are the causes, some say the farmers. But it's from both sides. If we all agree in those days, like I've mentioned, when some of us were growing up, when a farmer sees a herder in his farm, if he doesn't know him, he asks him, where are you from? You are from which family? And the herder is always sincere. I'm from so-so-so Ruga. And the issue is handled by the local chiefs. But today, even when the herder is grazing close to the farm, the farmer is aggrieved, the herder is aggrieved. They are above violence. And this, called for all these clashes we are having. The Office of the National Security Advisor, as we speak, is diversifying the thinking, the approach to this security threat. It's a national security threat. Like the speakers have mentioned, it has taken a lot of dimensions. Where in some areas, religion and other ethnicity comes into play a significant role in curtailing this. We are trying to see how we can bring in new techniques, non-kinetic approach of dialogue and community engagement with all stakeholders that are involved. In so doing, we believe, and in collaboration with all relevant authorities, this crisis can be handled and it can be solved without using any force.
Thank you very much for being within the allotted time. Our next representative is from the Federal Ministry of Agriculture.
Our distinguished chairman and other members, I'm indeed happy to be here again to talk about this issue of grave national importance. The reason being that we have on our own tried hard to see how we can address these conflicts, which we see as conflict between two major sources of food in the country. It's a conflict between the crop-based food and the animal source food. And once we have this conflict, let us remember that hunger is knocking at our door, because we cannot do without both. We can't do without crop source food and animal source food. Because of these two, we have long gaps of interventions that will have been done both ways that were left undone. This crisis, as we see, is not only in Nigeria, so we fully understand it. However, coming back home, we have seen a situation where what we will have addressed with just dialogue has been politicized and has now been discussed by really people who don't know much. And so you see that we are exacerbating this problem. Again, if you look at the conflict, the root causes of the conflict, you will see staring before us what we will have done a long time, but we didn't do. We talk about climate change. Climate change is not coming to us new. It's been there. When we did assessment of the grazing reserves, we found out that what the grazing reserves looked like 2018, when you look at them now, they are bare ground. So that means that even where we have termed reserves for grazing are not even available for grazing. However, we look at climate change as though is one monster. But it is something that should be a wake-up call for us to look at how we have been doing things and to come back to do those things now with the mindset of climate change approaching and really now on ground. If we look at urbanization that we also point fingers at, urbanization also didn't come to us suddenly. We are growing in population, and so we also begin to open up areas. That has also brought about encroachment of areas before now set aside for grazing and pastoralists and livestock herders to move their animals. And so these obstructions and these encroachments, they didn't just come about. They were coming gradually, and they all have boundaries. So they are in states. But what have we done? Then we look at our population increase. By the next 30 years, we'll be over 400 million. How are we making sure that we are able to cater for this large number of Nigerians that will be there? The other one is the primary stock routes, primary and secondary stock routes. These stock routes were in existence before. We have tried to put a copy of the stock routes in our presentation. A lot of times we talk about ranching. And ranching in itself is very good. But for those of us who even have the means and have ranches, you will agree with me that to have a ranch is not for the people who don't have the means. So ranches are good in themselves, but we have to get there. This will bring me, haven't touched on this because I have 5 minutes. It will bring me down to some of the solutions that we see. If you look at Gombe, that we are pointing at now and using to look at others, we have 23 grazing reserves in Gombe. And we have 4 of them gazetted. Out of these 4 gazetted, it gives us a total size of 152,857 hectares of gazetted land. I'm saying all of this because I'm looking at the solution. In all the conferences we have had, in all the meetings and in all the stakeholder engagements we have had, development of grazing reserve is usually number 2 of the solution that we have. The first solution that we see is what we call institutional reform. Federal government has done a lot, and we can list them, but we will not go there. But we want to see commensurate in intervention by the state so that it's something that is sustainable and not one-off. We need institutional reform. States to begin to find out who their crop farmers are and who their pastoralists and livestock farmers are, so that we can allot land, because these two sectors, the crop and the livestock sector, all need land. So if you are saying that the livestock sector is encroaching in the crop sector, that means that the livestock sector, you have not given it land. Because if they all have their own land and they are all fenced some one way or the other, or demarcated one way or the other, we will not have this conflict. And so for somebody to move to another person's land means that that person does not have land. So we need to look at our reforms and look at what we need to do for both parties. And if you take that institutional reform, we look at the ECOWAS protocol on transhumance. Transhumance is the movement of animals from one grazing area to the other. And sometimes you have cross-border transhumance movement from one country into the other. So when we look at this issue of transhumance, we look at ECOWAS protocol on transhumance. All ECOWAS heads of state sat down and agreed that we needed a transhumance protocol, and we all signed to that transhumance protocol. But as a country, Nigeria, do we have transhumance code of practice? Do we have when the pastoralists can move freely, when they cannot move freely? Do we have such code of practice to guide their movement as we edge towards ranching? Because it's not going to be automatic. If we move from institutional reform, so before I leave there, we need one solution is to look at our institutions, come up with a transhumance pastoralist code of practice, agreeable by the state, by the local government, and by the pastoralists and crop farmers themselves. Very important. So that the crop farmer knows when to leave the land. Okay. If I leave that, I will move to the second one, which is development of the grazing reserves. I've mentioned that states should be tasked to develop their grazing reserve. The third one is to have what we call settlements, livestock service centers. Mr. Chairman, sir, the livestock farmer in this country is one farmer that has been neglected over the years. We need to just say it as it is. While in other climes, they are provided up to insurance. Kenya, our neighbors here, in the East African country here, they have that. So we need to be sure that they are adequately settled. A lot of them have their animals rustled. We haven't done anything about that. We need, as we talk about dialogue, not to stop at dialogue, but to make sure that after having that dialogue, that they have their animals back, to go back to their means of livelihood, not to return to banditry. The last I will mention is pasture, commercial pasture development. Commercial pasture development, seeing pasture and feed and fodder as a good business to go into. Right now, we have a crisis of feed and fodder in the country. Poultry farmers are going out, and as it's affecting the poultry farmers, it's affecting the ruminant farmers. So we need to, as a country, look closely at commercial pasture. Kenya is already exporting pasture. We can do it and be self-sufficient in feed and fodder. I will rest my case for other speakers. Thank you very much.
You give us solution to the conflicts. Probably you can have resolutions.
First of all, I want to thank the members of the National Assembly for doing the needful. And before that, the former Speaker of Gombe State, who brought this motion, emotional motion to the National Assembly, who graciously debated on it and set an ad hoc committee to holistically look into this issue. with a strong view to bring to an end the aforementioned crisis. We really appreciate you. Really, today is a very, very important day in the history of livestock sector as well as farming system in Nigeria. Really, the National Assembly, the 10th National Assembly proved to be very, very effective and very, very concerned as far as solving the issue of Nigeria is concerned. What we presented is, first of all, the total blockage of grazing reserve, the total blockage of cattle route, because cattle route is a passage whereby livestock can freely we call it in fulfill the brutal. That is passage whereby animal can move freely without entering into anybody's farm. But the farmers now have blocked it totally. Even on the main road, if you watch, you cannot, where supposed to 30 meters are supposed to road body, you cannot even get 1 feet in some areas. Secondly, the blockage as the encroachment of cattle or grazing reserves. Even the gazetted one. I remember there was a time the Minister of Agriculture in 2017, they wanted to establish project in that Nasarawa. We and my chairman of Nasarawa in Kiana, there is no any existing grazing reserve in Nasarawa State. Say it to anybody if you wish to. All the grazing reserve are in papers, and this can be generalized in most of the state of the federation. Gombe State really are trying. They reclaim and revive. Yobe State also is trying, reclaim and revive. There are many states which are doing this thing, but most of the Nigerian states, they don't care about this thing. And also, there is problem of reckless farming by some herders who are just allowing their cattle unnecessary to enter into the people's farms, which are not allowed. That is why we have 3 visions. First of all, we say Kulang Allah in Fulhude means let us fear God. We, the pastorally first, let us make sure that we didn't cheat our fellow brothers farmers. Because even in your country, until when you present people right that you have your own right. Secondly, the farmers also should also make sure that they didn't block grazing reserve, encourage or cattle. Let us also dip their whole holistically.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are moving forward, and I will want to finish up with the related stakeholders. Let me go to Olingo Full Day Youth Association, if they're here.
On our part, we have submitted a written memo, and we have made a number of copies, which we hope will be shared to all attendees. We have highlighted, just as was requested by this committee, the nature of the problems. That is the farmer-herder clashes in Yamal to Deba, local government of Gombe State in particular, and other parts of the country in general. We went on to highlight what we find as as the causes to the seeming or to the problem. The causes which we highlighted as follows. We said religious cause, we said tribalism, economic factors, seasonal factors, land encroachments, failure of traditional institutions. Then we also said illiteracy, and something that was discussed by the representative of Ministry of Agriculture, which has to do with our border issue. We went on to highlight what we see as the escalating or factors responsible for the escalation of the problem over years. And in this regard, based on our finding and also based on some of our personal experiences, being an association of youth, of Fulbe youth, who are mainly the victims of all these clashes, I will also reluctantly admit that the youth are also the main perpetrators of some of this violence. We actually blame the government a lot. We thought the government is not aware of some of these problems, but from what my senior brother, the representative of the NSA, has highlighted, and what I also heard from the Minister of Agriculture, I believe the government is aware of some of these problems. So what remains now is the ability of the government to enforce these policies, or its policies. Over the years, the government has not been very able to enforce its policies. Even as the representative of the Ministry of Agriculture has highlighted, there are a lot of policies aimed at ending this kind of issues. But unfortunately, the enforcement has not been there.
If you look at how we are going, is we are finishing with the Fulani associations, into livestock. Then after that, we now go into the agri aspect, that is Rice Farmers Association, Food and Agriculture Program Management Action in Nigeria, and some few others. Thank you very much.
This Great Green World project, I think if we are going at the right dimension, or if we are to move at the right dimension, incorporating pastures into, or pasture lands or grazing areas into the project of Great Green World will help in reducing or subsiding the level of farmers-herders clash in our, in most especially Yamal Tudeba local government, because our focal point here is Yamal Tudeba.
And other regions.
Yes, and other regions. If we plant some type of improved varieties of grasses, most often we engage most of the organizations we plant those grasses to are private organizations, and the farmers cannot be able to afford it, or they might not be able to manage those areas, because these are people that are untranshuman. Therefore, a special management practice should be adopted so that these people can have a kind of setting that will make them feel like this is ours, and we can kind of establish a condition where this thing will favor all of us.
My name is Tijani Ahmad, representing Federal Ministry of Environment. Sorry for not submitting our presentation due to the late coming of the invitation. But I want to add that this problem is a national issue. The Federal Ministry of Environment has some agencies like Forestry Department, where I come from, like this Great Green World, which is a program that is taking place in 11 frontline states. Now, just what I want to add, I was opportune to attend one meeting organized by IOM, that is International Organization for Migration, which is discussing on this same issue, farmers, herders clashes, but this is a project carried out in Taraba and Adamawa State. But I want advice whether this committee will please try to liaise with that IOM. They are taking projects in Adamawa and Taraba. Yes, sir.
What is the meaning?
International Organization for Migration.
Okay.
When my brother here introduces himself, I was opportune to be there, and they invited all the stakeholders, including the office of the NSA, which was represented there. At that meeting, we were there, we bring and brainstorm ourselves
So I want this committee to at least have some ideas. If possible, the National Assembly will make this is a European Union funded program or project. Whether they can now extend, because they are taking some few local governments in Adamawa and Taraba states. So since Gombe and Taraba, they are having maybe the same scenario. So this, I think, can be an issue. It can be liaised. This committee can liaise and have some ideas of this or of how to mitigate these issues.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
We have to work hard. We have to put in our thinking caps. We have to work as Nigerians to find solution to this. And I believe if the ministry, especially environment, unfortunately again, water resources who are supposed to be here are not here. And if you're talking of agriculture, you're talking of what? Water resources. Isn't it? If you're talking of farming, the others, you're talking of what? Water resources.
Definitely.
But yet people don't look at it as if it is just for joke. No, we're not going to take that lightly. It is not about him today, but it's about the nation.
Yeah.
It is not about Gombe State, it's about the whole Nigeria. This crisis is going to where you don't even expect.
Definitely.
If you look at it, in those days, feather flies stop the others from going where? To the southern part of this country. Am I right?
Yeah.
Today, is there that feather fly? The animals were not used to the grasses in the southern part of the country. Now the animals are used to the grasses. Am I right?
Yes.
Then don't you think that the programs, the projects, the problems are now migrating to where there is no even... My brothers, this is a problem for the country. And if the National Assembly would sit down and think of a solution, I think all hands must be on deck. Definitely.
Definitely.
Because the Right Honorable Speaker is so much concerned. Is so much concerned. And as I said, kidnapping, cattle rustling, whatever, is the product of what? This crisis. It's a product of this problem. We have to, please.
Okay, sir.
So I will urge you to tell any agency under your ministry to come up with and be serious with this committee.
Okay, sir.
Definitely.
We will do
Thank
that
you very much.
by the grace of God.
Let me quickly call on Rice Farmers Association.
My name is Dr. Abubakar Mohammed Sani Bello, Sarkin Shanu Yamaltu, Sarkin Dajin Akko, Ardangeri Mangombe, State Treasurer Mieti Allah, Coordinator Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria, Gombe Chapter. Sir, as I said, my submission has been submitted to Secretariat earlier on. My submission is farmers' hardest clashes in Yamaltu local government, Gombe State. Let me just summarize this. So, owing to the persistent crisis between farmers and herders in Yamaltu local government, Gombe State, and in Northeast as a whole, due to the encroachment of cattle rows grazing reserve by farmers. Sir, we have about 4 different cattle rows and grazing reserve. We have community cattle rows, we have local government cattle rows, we have state cattle rows, we have federal cattle rows. Most of these routes and grazing reserve have been converted to farmlands by the farmers. And Yamaltu Labour, Mr. Chairman, is the largest local government in the country in terms of area. And in Yamaltu Labour, we have large cattle farmers, about 4 largest cattle farmers in this country. We have Kodom cattle farmers, which is in Yamaltu Labour local government. We have Dadinkoa cattle farmers, which is also in Yamaltu Labour local government. We have Megavo cattle farmers, which is also in Yamaltu Labour local government. And we have Kuri cattle farmers, which is also in Yamatu local government, which is the largest cattle market in Northeast. Mr. Chairman, I also want to inform you that Yamatu Deba shared border with 3 states. If you go to the north of Yamatu, it's shared border with Yobe. East of Yamatu, shared border with Borno. Southern part of Yamatu, shared border with Adamawa. And one good thing with Yamatu Deba, Mr. Chairman, the Bagongola started from Nafada, Funakaye, Kwami, Yamatu Deba, up to Adamawa. Yamatu Deba is a rural area, wherever you have the largest number of farmers and herders due to the nature of that area. But Mr. Chairman, these are our major challenges.
Honorable members, you can also suggest as part of your constituency projects, do solar-powered borehole. Not the one that will just be at a place, but the one that will be functional. The community people can now find ways to take pipes around the community. So I'll drop that as what can be done. So it's about water for life and water for livelihoods. So in terms of our milk production, water is one of the most essential nutrients, both required by both human and animals. You know, water takes care of, in terms of digestion, elimination of waste products, feces, representation, and so on. A lactating dairy cow has one of the largest requirements for water of any other animal. This is because 56% to 81% of our body weight is water, and she needs to replace them due to major loss of water through milk production. And milk is 87% water each day. Therefore, it is essential for dairy cattle to consume adequate quantities of water each day to meet their requirements. Drinking water is a primary method. So our milk production alone, because of lack of water, because what is also causing the crisis is lack of access to water, and with water, people can grow their fodder. People can grow whatever they want to grow around the year. So solar-powered boreholes are important. So even to increase our milk production, we need those solar-powered borehole also. Our milk yield is quite low. You know, we'll submit the document, but we need to really do things around that. Apart from talking about grazing reserves, the grazing routes, we need to also use this solution to provide water. There are some Fulani settlements that if they have solar-powered borehole, they can grow their fodder. They have, the milk production alone will shoot up. So if we are, as a country, we spent last year about 72.9 billion to import milk, you know, and we have the opportunity in terms of, as a country. So the states, the federal government need to do something seriously in terms of water and water for livelihoods. It will not only serve the cattle, it will help in terms of growing other crops around the year because we are faced with the challenges of climate change. So we would like to put that on the table and we'll make our submission. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Usually, the herders want their cows to have enough water to drink. It is usually when they go to the riverside, you see the farmers probably using irrigation during the dry season to irrigate their crops. There is no prohibition for the herders to. So if we can have boreholes powered by solar, probably they would be at the dams or the riversides where irrigation activities are being conducted. So it's a good thing. We will want you to present this document to us and probably make references to other places. Thank you very much. Our next is Nigerian Civil Defense Corps.
The role of Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps through its agro rangers is protection of farms, ranches, intervention between farmers, herders, problems. Mr. Chairman, we got a letter which asked some questions from us. The first question was our part. No, first was the nature, cause, and factors contributing to escalation of the dispute. We discovered here that search for fertile grazing land, determining the boundary that should be for grazing and that which should be for farming. These are part of the causes of this problem between the farmers and herders. Another question was also asked on the involvement of Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps in maintaining, managing, addressing, resolving farmers and herders issues. Like I said earlier, we have this department that is dedicated for food security, protection of farmers, herders, farm products, ensuring free flow of transportation of farm products from point of production to point of needs and consumption. Now we have, our approach is that we have kinetic approach and non-kinetic approach. We have these armed trained officers to intervene wherever they are called upon by any of these parties. We also have mediation unit that mediates between the farmers and herders whenever their issues arise. Now the process of this mediation, we adopt community-based conflict resolution approach. Now this conflict, the community-based, we hold that meeting at regular intervals with community leaders, farmers, herders, youth associations, and collaborate to discuss issues as well as understand each other. At state command levels, we have directed them to take their mediations to communities and involve parties in taking decisions on matters that affect them in order that they coexist together beyond their dispute. We have launched agro-based stations with the assistance of Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. That agro-based stations are intervention stations. They are meant to be there in case there's any dispute, there's any complaint arising from either the farmers or herders. Number, we have our challenges. Some of these challenges are that in some of our states and local governments do not have some logistic provisions like vehicles, in-laws vehicles. They do not have to be able to meet up when they are called upon to assist. And some of them in the area of information, the reporting do not come on time to enable them, rise to the challenge. Now there is also this National Livestock Transformation Plan, which was initiated by the National Economic Council in the year 2019. We want to propose, we want to suggest, recommend a full-scale implementation of this National Livestock Transformation Plan. Because I don't know, that law seeks to address this issue of grazing. sure if it's addressed, it will go a long way to assist in mitigating the problem of farmers and herders.
I will want to call on the Institute of Peace and Conflict Resolution.
Chairman, we from the institute, my name is Dr. Emmanuel Mamman. I'm Director of Conflict Prevention, Management and Resolution of the Institute.
Conflict Prevention?
Yes, Director of Conflict Prevention, Management and Resolution of the Institute. I must say that we are particularly, I sent the greetings from my Director General. He wanted to be here personally, but right now we have other engagements in the office that he's attending to from the ministry, our parent ministry, which is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They brought some people from Taraba State. In fact, right now they are engaging legislators from Taraba State on issues of conflict like this. Yes. So I want to say a very big thank you to the National Assembly, and particularly Honorable Inu Agaruba. I'm happy we are meeting you for the very first time. Maybe as I talk, you get hold of our presentation. Should be with you there. Yes, thank you very much, sir. You are indeed helping us to do our work by calling this kind of interactive session, because this is what the government is paying us to do. We are receiving salaries because of this. This institute has been there for the past 23 years. It is the apex agency of the federal government of Nigeria, serving as a think tank on how to prevent conflicts. We undertake research into the root causes of violent conflicts in Nigeria. We do field studies. We engage in dialogue sessions, sensitization and advocacy meetings across the country. This is what we've been doing so as to get into the peaceful resolution of conflicts. So we are very happy today to have this opportunity to sit before the National Assembly to tell some of the things we do. And I'm so happy with all the discussions and contributions from everybody here on the table. This is virtually all that we have been talking about, and we know all, I'm happy we all know these things. So the big question is always that, what next? What do we do? Should we just keep on lamenting and talking about these issues without this? We know majority of the things. Our research, our studies have actually revealed all these things. In fact, there's nothing that has been said here that is new, and I believe very, very, very familiar with also many of you here. But the question has always been, what should we do? If we have been doing something and it's not giving us the desired results, what can we now do differently so as to get to the bottom of this very crisis? So this is a major concern from the Institute. Because of time, Mr. Chairman, sir, if you go through our submission, we have given you from the submission, when you asked us to tell you what we think are the reasons for the causes of this farmer-herders conflict in Yamatu, Deba, and particularly, and in general, Nigeria as a whole, because the problems are almost the same. We are facing the same situations. We have given you 13 reasons. 13 reasons as the root causes of farmer-herders conflicts in Nigeria, and also particular to Yamatu, Deba. You asked us to talk about some factors that are enabling this crisis. That's, we call them, that are causing the escalation. Professionally, we call them triggers. We gave you 10 reasons. 10 reasons. for triggers where we're having these problems. I was so happy when the deputy speaker was talking here. I said, oh, maybe this speaker has read this thing. But I'm happy that all these issues are in the public domain. We are all aware of the reasons. We all know why we're having these problems. And he mentioned them. So there is no need to bore us about, on reasons, on causes of this very conflict. The major thing that is important to us for this meeting is what are we going to do? How do we resolve this conflict? We have given you, if you check that document, sir, Honorable Sir, we've given you 22 ways by which this crisis can be resolved. We need to continuously talk to one another. We need to continuously talk to each other. And in doing this, our traditional institutions are there, our religious leaders are there, youth groups are there, NGOs are there, women groups are there, students are there. Convocate a dialogue session. The last speaker mentioned talked about town hall meetings that we can easily do. Talk to them, talk to each other, let's talk. We'll bring in experts who will talk and then educate us on all of these issues. You see that these things will begin to mellow down. Lastly, I talk about, I say Honorable Inua can initiate discussion on collaborative engagement with the institutes and Gombe State government for immediate field, what we call peace and conflict impact assessment. Peace and conflict impact assessment. You agree with me that if you go to the hospital, all of us here will suffer malaria one way or the other. Before the doctor can effectively treat you, they will tell you, can you run some tests? You already have idea that I have malaria, maybe if I take chloroquine, maybe if I take Amatem, maybe if I take Pansida, you can heal. But sometimes the doctor will tell you, no, go, let's run tests first before we see. So what we're also saying here is that we have a crop of experts that normally before any meaningful intervention, we go out there, take a deep assessment of the environment. How are the people impacted? What are the chances? What are the opportunities? What again, the things that have been done in the past, why are all the measures not working? And what can we do differently now? So these are issues. So we invite the Honorable, who will be happy to interface with you, sir, on this aspect. And then we also ask, sir, I'm happy you have been repeating that this meeting is going to continue. Yeah. You can see here we say the adult committee can convey a meeting or retreat with select stakeholders as immediate response after this interactive session to work on the short-term recommendations we mentioned in this. And by the time you are able to do this, we're quite sure that we will be able to resolve this intractable crisis. Thank you for this opportunity.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Mike.
Oh. I'm going, madam. Okay, go ahead.
When he finished talking, I wanted to just say a few seconds to talk about the NLTP. So the National Livestock Transformation Plan is presently in the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. And we have programs and projects like breed improvement program, pasture development program, and feed and fodder, and all of that should go along while you are talking to the people. The next thing is what next after all this dialogue? How can we increase productivity and go on? Just to add that. I will do a write-up on NLTP and send to you.
For there to be this level of violence, obviously there's some level of bitterness among people that we've not been able to address. Now, personal experience, I remember when I was young that I'll go to the farm with my grandfather. I used to enjoy watching the cows pass. It was fun, it was okay. Even as recently as when I was in university, I know there'll be some Fulani boys moving their cows and they'll stop by the government primary schools to listen while the cows are just feeding, and everything was peaceful. So right now, I don't understand where that bitterness started from, which is something we're going to have to dig into. But we cannot even get an insight to this without proper an establishment of a proper line of communication between the government and the people. And it's a very long distance, so it will take a lot of efforts to close.
In a summary, we appreciate that the problem is not only for Imol Deba in Gombe State. The problem is not only for Gombe State. It's not only for the people in the Northeast, not only people in the other regions, but a Nigerian's problem. So please, I will want to call on the committee members, as we gave you time, to equally have 1 or 2 words from them, except the mover of the motion. Thank you. Any other? Okay, go ahead, sir.
Bloodshed, they are a part of that issue. So they have already sold the whole cattle route. They sold it without the knowledge of the government, without any. They just sit down in their and sold the cattle routes, where a link from that local government to that local government, from that state to that state. We are all Nigerians. Cattle herders are Nigerian, farmers are Nigerians. Who will leave Nigeria among us? So we have to talk the truth and go back to the grassroots. So it is most the government will enter this issue to solve the problem. If you want peace in Nigeria, we have to bring out that cattle routes, grazing reserve. We must to invite or to sacrifice, to invite the Arawa, and sit down with them, and big farmers, and sit down with them, and take the decision together with them. District head is a major, and pledge head is a major problem of this issue. It's a major problem. I'm not afraid of them because Nigeria is my country.
Thank you, our chairman of this committee. Thank you for the effort. Thank you also the secretariat and all the stakeholders there. We have spent enough of time discussing how we get to the solution on this issue of herders and farmers that have become a maladies in our country. My prayer is that we will all see the need of our togetherness.
We sincerely want to appreciate your time, your contributions towards solving this great monster. Move for the motion for adjournment, please.
In view of the fact that we have deliberated on the committee's assignment, I want to move that the committee do adjourn Sinadai. I so move.
Okay, honorable members, a motion has been moved for adjournment. Who is going to second the adjournment? Okay. Okay. A motion is moved by Right Honorable Inwa and seconded by Right Honorable Yaya Bauchi Tongo. It is the wish of this House to adjourn this sitting. Senate aye. Those in favor to say aye. Aye. Those against it to say nay. There I have it.
All right, there is consensus that getting to the root of the farmers' herders' challenges requires integration of efforts and measures by government at various levels, the security agencies, the private sector, and concerned groups. You can be sure we'll bring you more updates as they unfold. That's it on the program today. We thank you for watching. I am Itaire Ikben. Bye for now.